Welcome to Murmurs of the Mystic Dunes, a sleep story where you'll journey with Mavena, a sand whisperer through the enchanting deserts of Azariel. Before we embark on this soothing adventure, we'll begin with a breathing guidance to prepare you for a night of deep rest. If you're not interested in this part, or wish to jump straight to the story, you can find timestamps for each chapter in the video description. Now, let's create a space for tranquility. Find a comfortable position where you feel supported and at ease. Let your body sink into whatever you're lying on, allowing the weight of the day to melt away. Adjust your surroundings to feel just right, whether it's fluffing your pillow or smoothing your blanket. This moment is yours to transition from the day's hustle into the calmness of the night, surrounded by the gentle whispers of the desert. Let's take a calming breath together. Inhale slowly through your nose, filling your lungs with the cool night air of the desert. Feel it as if the breeze itself is guiding you to peace. Now, exhale gently through your mouth, imagining all your worries dissipating into the sand beneath you. With each breath, feel your body grow heavier, more relaxed, as if you're becoming one with the serene landscape of Azariel. If your mind starts to wander, let it do so gently, like sand grains carried by the wind. There's no need to chase thoughts. Simply acknowledge them and return to the rhythm of your breath or the soothing sound of my voice. You're here to listen, to relax, and to let Mavena's journey guide you into dreams of peace and wonder. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Whisper of Beginnings. In the village of Sandweave, nestled where the dunes kissed the horizon, the air was thick with the scent of dry earth and the promise of the night's first cool breath. Mavena, a young sand whisperer, sat cross-legged on a dune, her eyes closed, her senses sharpened to the subtleties of the desert. Her fingers traced patterns in the sand, feeling the vibrations that whispered secrets only the desert knew. Mavena was not like the others in Sandweave. Her affinity for the sands was both her gift and her destiny. With hair like the midnight sky and eyes that reflected the stars, she was known for her ability to hear the dunes sing. Today, however, the murmurs had changed. They were less a song and more a plaintive call, a beckoning towards an unknown peril. As the sunset painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, Mavena gathered her tools for the journey ahead. Her sand harp, an instrument that looked more like a frame of woven reeds than anything else, lay beside her. Its strings, made from the finest desert spider silk, were tuned to the sand's frequency. Beside it, a vial of dream dust shimmered, a precious residue from the dreams that danced over Sandweave at night. The village was quiet, the inhabitants preparing for the night's rest, unaware of the subtle shift in the desert's heart. Mavena felt the urgency in the sands, an urgency that spoke of the Oasis of Slumber, a place where dreams were born now in jeopardy. She stood, brushing off the sand from her simple earth-toned robes, and took one last look at her home. The journey to the Mystic Dunes was not one taken lightly. It was a path of both physical and spiritual navigation. Mavena's steps were soft, leaving barely a trace on the sand. As she walked, she began to play her sand harp, the notes floating gently, almost merging with the desert's breath. The sound was like a lullaby, calming yet guiding, as if the dunes themselves were singing her forward. The evening breeze carried the faint scent of night-blooming cacti, a reminder of the life that thrived even in this harsh expanse. Mavena listened, her mind and body aligning with the rhythm of the desert. Each step was a meditation, each breath an acknowledgement of the vast, whispering world around her. With every note she played, the sands whispered back, guiding her towards the heart of the mystic dunes. The journey would be long, fraught with the silent threats of a world where dreams might cease. Yet Mavena felt a peacefulness settle over her, a calm that came from knowing her path was one of purpose, one of healing. As the stars began to pierce the darkening sky, Mavena felt the first of many nights on her journey begin to claim her. The desert was her guide, her protector, and now her companion on a quest to restore the balance of peace, where all dreams are woven. She closed her eyes briefly, letting the soothing, repetitive sound of her harp and the desert's whispers lull her into a state of readiness, her mind clear, her spirit at one with the sand beneath her. Chapter 2: Echoes of the Lost Path. Under the cloak of night, the desert transformed. The dunes shimmered with a silvery light, and the air grew cooler, carrying the whispers of the sand with a new urgency. Mavena felt the change in the desert song as she continued her journey, her sand harp strumming a melody that resonated with the shifting sands beneath her feet. The path, once familiar, now seemed to twist and turn with a will of its own, leading Mavena into parts of Azariel she had never explored. The dunes were higher here, casting long shadows that danced with the breeze. Her heart beat in sync with the rhythm of her harp, each note a step forward, a question to the sand. Where leads the way to peace? It was in this maze of sand that she first saw them. The sand serpents, their bodies were long, graceful, and shimmered with the light of forgotten stars, each scale reflecting the night sky. They moved in patterns that seemed at once chaotic and deeply harmonious, a dance that spoke of ancient knowledge. Mavena paused, her harp's song quietening to listen to the serpents. They circled her not in threat but in curiosity, their movements creating a soft rustling sound that mingled with the night air. She understood then that these creatures were not just inhabitants but guides, their dance a map through the ever-changing landscape of the mystic dunes. With a slow, deliberate movement, Mavena played a note on her harp, a note that echoed the melody of the serpent's dance. The air around her seemed to hum in approval, the sand beneath her feet vibrating in response. She followed the serpents, her steps now guided by their fluid, almost liquid motion. As they moved, the night unfolded in a symphony of sensations. The gentle breeze whispered secrets of the desert's heart, carrying the faintest scent of distant, unseen blooms. Mavena's senses were heightened, the coolness of the night air soothing against her skin. the soft sand underfoot a constant companion. The serpents led her to a small, hidden valley where the sand was softer, almost like silk. Here the stars seemed brighter, their light piercing through the darkness with a clarity that made the night feel like an embrace. The serpents coiled around one another, their dance slowing, becoming a rest, a moment of peace in the journey. Mavena sat, her harp resting in her lap, taking in the calm. She observed the stars, how they seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the desert, each one a note in the night's lullaby. She breathed deeply, feeling the tension leave her body with each breath, her mind clearing, aligning with the peace of this hidden place. The serpents, their task done, began to fade into the sand, leaving behind a trail of luminescent scales that glowed faintly, showing Mavena the way forward. She understood then that her path was not lost, but merely hidden, awaiting her to find it with patience and the right harmony. With the first light of dawn beginning to paint the sky, Mavena rose, ready to continue. The echoes of the lost path had become a guide, each step forward now a step toward the Oasis of Slumber, where dreams awaited their savior. She played a soft note on her harp, a promise to the desert and to herself that the journey would continue, with each echo guiding her closer to peace. Chapter 3. The Melody of the Moonlit Sands. As the sun dipped below the horizon, surrendering the sky to the night, Mavena found herself in a part of the desert where the sands seemed to glow with an inner light. Here, the mystic dunes took on a life of their own, singing in a symphony of whispers that Mavena had never heard before. She paused, her hand hovering over her sand harp, feeling the night's rhythm call to her. The moon, full and luminous, cast its silver light across the dunes, transforming the sand into a sea of moonlight. Mavena felt this was a place of secrets, a hidden melody waiting to be uncovered. She began to play, her fingers coaxing out notes that seemed to echo the moon's own song, a melody that resonated with the very essence of the night. As she played, nocturnal creatures emerged from their hidden lairs. Desert hares with eyes like moonstones peeked from behind dunes, and owls, silent as the shadows, flew overhead, their wings whispering tales of the night. These creatures were not just observers, but participants in the nocturnal symphony, their movements adding to the harmony of the place. Mavena listened intently to the sounds around her, each note from her harp drawing out a response from the environment. The sands beneath her vibrated, singing back in tones that felt both ancient and comforting. She understood then that this valley was a place of learning, where the moonlit sands taught the art of listening, of hearing the deeper secrets of the desert. A particular melody, one that sounded like the breath of the desert itself, caught her attention. Following its source, she came upon a small natural amphitheater formed by dunes, where the sand seemed to hum with a life of its own. Here, the air was thick with the scent of night-blooming flowers, a fragrance that spoke of serenity and the promise of dreams. Sitting in the center of this natural stage, Mavena played her harp, watching as the sand around her shifted subtly, forming patterns that danced with her music. she felt a connection, a merging of her spirit with the desert soul. The creatures around her, now closer, seemed to nod in approval, their presence a calm reassurance. As the night deepened, Mavena learned from the creatures how to listen not just with her ears, but with her entire being. The hares showed her how to feel the vibrations of the earth. The owls taught her to interpret the silence between sounds. Each lesson was a step towards understanding the desert's language, a language of harmony and peace. The melody of the moonlit sands was more than music. It was a lesson in patience, in attunement to the world around her. Mavena's body relaxed further with each note, her breathing syncing with the desert's rhythm, her mind clear and open to the teachings of the night. By the time the moon had journeyed halfway across the sky, Mavena felt a new confidence. She had not just heard the secrets of the desert, she had become part of them. With this knowledge, she knew the path to the Oasis of Slumber would be clearer, her steps guided by the melodies she now carried within her. As dawn approached, the symphony of the night began to fade, but the melody lingered in Mavena's heart. She rose, her harp in hand, the desert song now a part of her, leading her towards the heart of the mystic dunes, where the next chapter of her journey awaited. Chapter 4. The Silence Before Dawn. The night had worn on, the stars beginning their slow descent from the sky as Mavena ventured deeper into the heart of the mystic dunes. The desert's melody, which had been her guide, started to wane, replaced by an unsettling quietude. Here, the sands were not the soft, whispering companions she had known. They were mute, their secrets hidden beneath an oppressive silence. Mavena felt the weight of this silence, a palpable absence where once there was song. It was not the peaceful quiet of rest, but a void that seemed to swallow all sound, all dreams. She knew she was approaching the core of her quest, where the threat to the Oasis of Slumber was most acute. She played her sand harp, the notes barely echoing, as if the air itself was too heavy to carry sound. The desert had changed. The dunes were sharper, casting long, ominous shadows in the dimming light of the moon. The air was cooler, carrying a scent of dust, rather than the night-blooming flowers she had grown accustomed to. In this place, Mavena faced her fears. The silence was not just around her, but within her, a mirror to the doubts and uncertainties that all dreamers encounter when the world of dreams is threatened. She sat, her harp resting on her lap, and closed her eyes, focusing on the rhythm of her own breath, seeking the melody within the silence. As she breathed deeply, she began to understand that this silence was not just an adversary, but a teacher. It was here to show her the importance of inner peace, of the dreams that survive in the quietest moments. Mavena played a single long note, a note of defiance against the silence, a call to the dreams that still lingered in the heart of the dunes. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the sand began to respond. A faint vibration, a whisper so soft it could have been imagined, resonated with her note. Mavena continued, weaving a lullaby from the silence, a melody that spoke of hope, of the resilience of dreams. The dawn was near, the sky a tapestry of deep blues and purples, when Mavena felt the first hints of the sun's warmth. With the new light came the courage to confront the silence fully. She stood, her harp playing a melody of awakening, of dreams that would not be silenced. The sand around her began to shimmer, the silence lifting like a veil, revealing the path forward. In this moment of transition, the desert seemed to breathe again, the sands murmuring their approval. Mavena felt her body relax, each muscle letting go of the tension held by the oppressive quiet. Her mind, once clouded by doubt, now clear, saw the way ahead. The silence had taught her endurance, the power of listening to the quiet within herself, where dreams are born anew. With this lesson, Mavena knew she was closer to the Oasis of Slumber, her heart now attuned to the subtle songs of peace that even silence could not mute. As the first rays of sunlight touched the dunes, Mavena looked towards the horizon, where the desert seemed to change, becoming softer, more inviting. The silence before dawn had been her trial, but now, with the day's light, she felt ready to face whatever lay ahead, her spirit buoyed by the melodies she had woven from the quiet places of the world. Chapter 5. The Oasis of Eternal Peace. With the dawn's light painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, Mavena walked towards what felt like the heart of the desert, guided now by a renewed melody in the sands. The oppressive silence had lifted, replaced by a gentle anticipatory hush, the kind that precedes the most beautiful of moments. The dunes began to descend, revealing a hidden valley, a place where the desert's harshness gave way to beauty. There, nestled among the shifting sands, was the Oasis of Slumber. It was unlike anything Mavena had imagined. Water, crystal clear and still, mirrored the sky, surrounded by foliage that whispered of life in this vast expanse of sand. The air was rich with the scent of night-blooming flowers, their fragrance mingling with the fresh, earthy smell of water. As Mavena approached, she felt a profound sense of peace, her journey's purpose crystallizing before her. The oasis was a sanctuary, where dreams were not just born but nurtured, their essences floating in the air like visible breaths of color and light. At the center of the oasis stood the Dream Weaver, an ageless being whose form was both of shadow and light, voice a blend of the night's lullabies and the dawn's first song. His presence was calming, his eyes reflecting the universe's vastness. "Welcome, Mavena," the Dreamweaver spoke, his voice echoing like a soft melody across the waters. "You have heard the desert's call, woven its silence into song. Now, you must complete the harmony." Mavena, feeling the weight of her journey lift, played her sand harp, the notes intertwining with the natural sounds of the oasis. The rustle of leaves, the gentle lapping of water against the shore, the distant songs of birds. The Dreamweaver listened, nodding in rhythm with her music, his hands weaving patterns in the air that solidified into dreams, floating around them. Together they worked, Mavena with her harp and the Dreamweaver with his ancient knowledge, restoring the balance that had been disrupted. The dreams that had begun to fade now glowed brighter, their colors more vivid, their forms more distinct. The oasis responded, the water shimmered with renewed life, the plants bloomed with a vigor unseen before, and the air was filled with a chorus of peace. Mavena felt her body relax completely, Each note she played a step closer to a meditative state, her mind drifting into the calm of the dream world. As they concluded their melody, the Dreamweaver spoke again. "You have restored the dreams, Mavena. But remember, peace is a journey, not a destination. The desert will always need its song." Mavena understood. Her quest was not just about reaching the oasis, but learning to carry its peace within her, to share it with the world. She watched as the Dreamweaver slowly faded, becoming one with the dreams he had helped to weave, his voice a lingering echo in her mind. With a heart full of peace, Mavena sat by the water's edge, watching the reflections of dreams dance on the surface. She breathed deeply, the scents and sounds of the oasis wrapping her in a cocoon of tranquility. Here, she meditated, her body sinking into the sand, her mind merging with the calm of the place. As the sun climbed higher, Mavena prepared to leave, knowing she would carry this place within her. The journey back would be different, not just a return, but a path walked with a knowledge of peace, of dreams sustained by the melodies of the desert. The Oasis of Slumber, now vibrant and eternal, continued its silent song, a promise of peace for all who dreamt, while Mavena stepped back into the world, her sand harp playing a new tune, one of hope, of endless dreams, and the ever-present melody of the mystic dunes.